Video check complete, audio check complete, host check. Can everyone here imagine a 3D apple in their mind?
Do that? Yeah, I can do that.
Is it spinning?
I can do that.
Yeah, I can. Yep. Yeah.
It's colored.
Crisp.
Like detailed.
Okay.
Detailed crisp.
I see the water on it, like the sweat of the water. You know how that looks. I can imagine it.
Okay, I thought we were gonna have problems. So that's good.
That's gonna be like the test for when we bring people on the show. We're gonna just make them do that, or like, can you do that? And if not, we just kill them.
All right. Today we are talking about Agonia Maxes, Zero Base Maxes, the secret Maxes of the COD Zombie storyline.
If you don't know what we're talking about, that's okay. Many don't.
That's okay. So everyone here knows about Dr. Maxes in some regard.
Yeah.
You have the World at War Maxes, adversary to Edward Richtofen, and you have from Origins onward, you have Dimension 63 Maxes in the house. Who's more of a support brother. Yeah.
Best friend and personal hero.
What you might not know about is there's another Maxis lurking in the background of the story during Black Ops 3 primarily, but also maybe Black Ops 4, just a little bit. So, any of y'all ever heard about this?
I heard vaguely about it. I heard vaguely, because it's in the comic a little bit. If you guys are familiar with the comic, that you can't buy anymore for less than like $200.
I think most people's first exposure, if it wasn't in the comics, the hint of there being a third Maxis, I think it was the Kino der Toten little hallway, drilling noises.
Yeah. Which you might not connect those at first, but it could be very connected, more than you think.
The first place you really get any of this is in the comics. In Victus comic issue number 3, released in March 2017, you get the introduction of Zero Base, which is basically a base that Maxis had set up in the multiverse out there on an empty Earth. And it was to house a bunch of relics he had collected across the multiverse through some means that you don't really get a lot about.
But it is important to note that the circumstances of Zero Base's existence make it that it could not have been built by either of the ones we're more familiar with in the story.
Yeah. There's a timeline entry where, like, the Maxis in the house is talking about discovering it. He's like, oh shit, what the hell's going on over here?
And the normal Maxis was stuck in, like, a computer or something for, like, 90% of recorded history in that universe.
But basically, Zero Base, like I said, he collected relics there, including the Chronorium and a bunch of other stuff. You see a bunch of stuff in one of the comic pages where it's like Ted.
Is it one of them? But yeah, I was gonna say, was Ted one of them?
Yeah, Ted, the Fire Staff, just a bunch of stuff from the Zombies timeline. Like the Friel device is one of them, I think. Basically, Victus are sent to Zero Base on the empty Earth to retrieve the Chronorium by Richtofen. But to get back to Maxis specifically, they go there, they get the Chronorium, and then when Stuhlinger picks up the Chronorium, a bunch of pods activate and cyborg zombies walk out. And that's interesting because by the time the comics had released, we hadn't known that was made by a Maxis, or it might, if it was mentioned, it was like a one-off blurb about it.
Yeah. So interesting to note that they, for whatever reason, he put up, like, if I recall correctly, it's like you can only enter Zero Base if you have, like, a soul.
Yeah, it's like he knew.
It's
like he knew about the cycle. And, well, I think Sophia, we'll get to that, but Sophia has a quote where she kind of implies that he does know about the cycle, and he has a plan for that.
Yeah.
But it never really became anything. Yeah, so, I mean, the pods activate, a bunch of cyborg zombies pop out. That's interesting because Maxis, from the OG timeline, World of War and Black Ops 1, he specifically is the only Maxis to develop the ability to merge with technology. How this relates back, in my opinion, to Grodd Crovey, Sophia, which is interesting to note that the Sophia that appears in the comics at Zero Base is the hologram of the same Sophia orb from Grodd Crovey, so that's a little connection there to start things off.
If I recall correctly, wasn't the Sophia orb thing specifically an Agonia fracture thing? Like, not something that happened in the normal Dimension 1?
Yeah, in Revelations, you kind of get the backstory for that. That's like, that's why I think it's the same Maxis, in my opinion. Because, like, in Grodd, you get all this stuff about Diaglock research and all that, and you specifically get a line from Sophia where she's like, broken arrow showed my Maxis how to open new worlds,
which is very interesting as well, considering that in the normal timeline, Broken Arrow does not exist during that part of history. Like, they don't exist until, like, if I recall correctly, like the 60s, I believe.
That's them reaching out from a different universe, I think.
I I don't think Maxis ever actually had any proper contact with Broken Arrow in general.
Well,
anyways.
no, because he was dead, quote unquote, by the time they
Yeah.
actually formed,
Yeah.
and he didn't know about Operation Safely. That was like a Rick Coffin thing.
She has a ton of lines like that in that map where she's like, "My Maxes, they showed him how to open new worlds. I must go to him. The loop must be resolved." Like stuff where it's very clear that Maxis from Agonia knew about the cycle. He made Sophia basically. It's the same Maxis from those Revelation radios that made Sophia. Yeah, there's a lot to suggest that's the same exact person, and that,
especially considering in Gorod itself, there's no indication given as to where Maxis went currently, or like what he's doing at the moment. Which I guess you could say, oh, maybe he died, but I feel like that would have at least been commented on if that were the case in the Easter egg, you know?
Yeah, and there's a one-off line where she's like, "My Maxis said he had a plan."
Yeah.
And then in Tag Your Totem, you get that same line from Richtofen. He says, "Samantha's dad told me he had a plan," and that's around the same time that the lighthouse beam activates, which is interesting. Psst, over here. Did you know we have a Patreon now? For as low as $1 a month, you can get access to the top secret Majestic 12 Eyes only channel in the Call Effects Discord server, where I tell you all kinds of spooky shit. Or, if you're extra devoted, you can choose any one of these higher tier rewards to unlock super cool stuff, like road trip in the Discord, and having your name featured at the end of videos. The higher the tier, the bigger and more stylized your name gets. Are you Mr. Moneybags? How about giving me $50? Come on, I need it. Why not? All money earned from the Patreon goes directly to me and none of the co-hosts. If you think I'm paying them, you're as crazy as they are. Your money will aid me in ways such as paying for a tank of gas, fueling my substance abuse, and a down payment on a truck stop lot lizard wife. Join the Patreon today. Or, if you don't, next time you go home, I'll be under your bed.
So like we have a missing Maxis. We have potentially two setups for like versions of Maxis that are missing. And I feel like it would be a bit weird if there were just two distinct versions of that character that are both missing from the story and each only do like one important thing each. But I think it would make a lot more sense if it was just one version of them doing all that shit. Especially because it makes sense with, as quite established, the setup in Gorod that version of him would go on to do the zero-base stuff. Like, there's a feasible explanation for how he would go from there to there.
And even like, that stuff's kind of like a plot hole. That the stuff of him having a plan never gets brought up, like, ever.
Yeah.
It gets brought up in Black Ops 3 and then very into Black Ops 4. So, like, who knows? Maybe that could come back at some point. Maybe it's like a long gone thing.
Electric Maxis will return in Black Ops 7. He's going to come back. He's going to be part of the main crew in Black Ops 7.
Peter McKay Loose Ends is actually him talking with Zero Base Maxis.
Yeah, that performance leak was actually not true. It's Zero Base Maxis, Peter McCain, Modern Warfare 2019 was, and I don't know, Reznov, who is not dead. It's good to be the new Zombies crew.
Or Archetype Reznov. Same thing, honestly.
So it's just the actual Reznov. He became a Zombies character after he became John Trent.
Archetype Maxis.
It could always just be the sense that maybe Nikolai just got to do his plan way before Maxis could.
I suppose.
To be fair, I feel like Zero Base Maxis, even though he had this whole, he had the plan. He had a plan, okay? He had a plan. But the way that the Aether story ended, it felt like all the items that we needed, or all like, the things that the crew needed to end this whole cycle and everything, was never gonna really be within that Zero Base Maxis' like grasp.
It's also possible, in my opinion, that he was playing like a long con thing, like the Mob of the Dead Fracture Dimension. It's basically a long con working off of like how the cycle works. Like eventually they're gonna fuck up and we're gonna get put in the machine and the cycle's gonna break. It's possible Zero Base Maxis was doing that, where it's like he's leaving the Chronorium in a position where they will get it for the cycle, and eventually that's going to result in them like fucking up and breaking the cycle.
You could, see on the other end, maybe he did help us out after all, and we just didn't know it.
Yeah. My headcanon for all that, we almost put this like a reference to this in Fae Victus. In real life, in like Kecksburg, Indiana, I think, or maybe Pennsylvania, there was an incident where like this UFO came down, or it might have been a meteor, but it was shaped like D-Glock. So my little headcanon is like he figured out a way to like leave the multiverse whenever Tag happened, and he entered the new universe, and that was him.
He's just chilling. He's just chilling somewhere.
Next game, guys. It's gonna be the next game. He's gonna come back. He's actually in the Dark Aether chilling.
He's working with the Shadow Smiths. He's going to be the real villain of the story.
Archibald and Maxis, leaders of the Shadowsmiths.
Exactly.
Anywho, to kind of loop this back together, in Chronicles, there's another little thing that can be tangentially related to being Agoni Maxis, zero-base Maxis, whatever you want to call him, and that's in the area with the fire trap. There's a door, and if you hold X on it, you hear like knocking noises, and like there's a guy on the other side of the door, and you hear like chains dragging and parts being attached to a zombie that's chained up. And it sounds like he's building a cyborg zombie, like from the comic.
There's a very limited amount of characters that could be, you know? But it's gotta be somebody doing that, most likely. It can't be normal Maxis, because again, he's dead by that point. It's probably not for like Primus Rickton or something, doing some shit on the side.
And the map takes place in 1963, so it's like inherently like a time thing. Like if that's him, he'd have to be like doing time shit to get there. At that
also,
point.
a time period that is heavily connected in Black Ops 4 with Broken Arrow.
Get this man a true, whatever my true go.
Maybe he went there. Maybe that's where he built the cyborg zombies for the comics. He had a little workshop there.
I think it's possible that the connection to Broken Arrow is what got him there. Because we know they were doing shit in 1963, going off of like classified.
Yeah, with the Broken Arrow shit, the way I kind of like thought process it, I think they went to him, told him how to do all this, and that's why they started pushing into like Diaglock stuff more in that fracture.
Yeah,
Diaglock stuff is what he's using to like go into different dimensions.
Yeah, because we know like 1935's technology is already much more advanced in that fraction. Also, the Ascension group also seems to be. If I recall correctly, I could be wrong about this, but isn't there Ascension group stuff in Nora? Because I could see that being another like consequence of it.
Yeah, I think like you have Gersh, obviously he shows up.
Yeah,
and
you know what I mean, like stuff relating to the Ascension group in Agonian. Because Gersh is like he's the same from Black Ops 1. I could be wrong on this. My memory could be going major clever.
There might be. I honestly can't remember, but like the stuff you do in the main quest is called Project Ascension or something like that, or Ascension Protocol.
Actually, also by the way, on a similar note to the D-Glock stuff or like the Die-Glock stuff, for people that don't know about that, it's like this bell-shaped thing that was a theory in the real world during World War II. People thought, or still maybe think, that the Nazis had made a anti-gravitational device that was capable of like ascending basically space-time and creating multiversal portals and stuff.
It's part of a broader conspiracy theory of like the Wunderwaffe program, which inspired a lot of early zombies. And the actual D-Glock thing, like the thing people thought was D-Glock, was you can see it in COD World War II multiplayer, I believe, and it's mentioned in some Cold War intel by Strauss.
You see it in Doris too. It's the hinge outside a map where you shoot the little panel on it. That's like it would have been chained up in the center of that and like moved around and shit.
I mean, you can also kind of see that with I think the teleports kind of look like Diglocks in Doris.
Dempsey says that he has a quote for that. Like he goes, you walk into a room that has one of those, and he says, "Diglock, anyone?" But in terms of like the teleporters being used to like time travel, obviously you get that in Doris in the timeline. Whenever they teleport, they overload, and it jumps on the Kino in 1963. But also in Drazendrach, you literally in the quest use it to time travel.
Yes.